Guys, welcome to a brand new episode of Full Time Reds. Today is the first time I'm doing a show on my own, but I felt it was needed after last week's results. Just before I go into today's podcast, if you can just firstly thank you for everybody that subscribed, helped us grow. We're nearly hitting the 1,000 mark on YouTube. Really appreciate that. So anybody that hasn't subscribed, please subscribe, press the bell icon and support what we're trying to do here for the Manchester United community. Um, I wanted to do this podcast really looking at a few things. Today, what I'm going to cover is basically Ten Hag. The pressure has been put on him. You can see that with the media last night with Jamie Carragher and everybody else that have kind of really gone in for him. I'm going to look at what needs to change, and I'm going to look at potentially what the next candidates for this role could be. So, on the weekend, as we all probably saw, United took a really bad battering, in my opinion, from a performance point of view against Fulham, where they weren't really even in the game. It was really, really bad from all aspects, from tactically how the team was set up, and I was a really, really big Ten Hag supporter for a long, long time. And what changed for me was when I watched Man United played Tottenham at Old Trafford, and Tottenham had probably more injuries than us. And I remember Ange Postecoglou played a midfield of Skip and two others that weren't even starters, and they dominated us really. And at that point, I started asking, well, if Tottenham can play like this with injuries, why are we not playing like this with injuries? We've got better players. The guy's been in the job a lot longer, and I felt at that point I started to think maybe he's not the ideal person for the role. And last year, I remember playing Barcelona away at Nou Camp, and I thought, wow, I've not seen United play like this. We dictated tempo, we were all over them. It was phenomenal play, but it feels like either managers have sussed Ten Hag out, or he's run out of ideas. Or I did a podcast with the guys at We Talk Ajax, and they were saying usually he doesn't have a plan B, and he might be able to get away with that in Holland, but in England, you can't, because every team can beat you. Every team from the top of the league to the bottom of the league can turn you over. And I feel that it's not that he's out of it. It might be he's just not good enough. Sometimes you might have a manager that feels you can get more. I think this is his maximum, because we've been seeing these issues since the Wolverhampton game. And we're 12 weeks away from 12 games away from the end of the season. The season finishes in 10 weeks, and the same problems are still there. We can go on about injuries, but every team's had injuries. Fulham had like 4 or 5 players out on the weekend, and they outplayed us. And it seems to me either, and the other thing that's not helping him is he's playing players that I really don't give a fuck about him. Casemiro's a prime example, who constantly thinks he's playing Power League, and he's going up and down through the middle, and there's huge gaps. Rashford doesn't care, and really, he shouldn't. I don't think he should have played after what happened in Dublin. He should not have got into the team, but the manager put him back in, and these are issues that could have been avoided. But I think, in my honest opinion, this is his maximum level as a manager, and unfortunately, I don't think he can make any changes. And eventually, because he's also got a year left. What we've got to remember is his contract finishes next summer, so the new powers need to look at what they're going to do quite quickly, because either you have to give him a new contract. You can't go into the summer keeping him and then investing 300 million into players that he wants, and then you want to get rid of him. And secondly, there are other jobs on the market, and there's not a lot of good candidates, which I'm going to come on to later on. But what Ineos need to do is they need to set a clear vision on how they want to play, and recruit based on that. What we can't keep doing is, oh, this guy's on the market, or that guy's on the market, or Ronaldo's on the market, let's bring him back. We need to think very clearly. And if that does mean having Ross Barkley for a year, for example, who's been in the press, to fill in a gap, then it's Ross Barkley for a year. We can't keep going off big names. Like Casemiro, he was excellent last year, but his legs have gone. And honestly, when I watch him, it's pure power league. He's just constantly just doing his own thing. Another thing that I think what's going to have to happen is, from a fan's point of view, fans are going to need to be very, very patient with this because there is no quick fix. You technically need maybe 10, 11 starting players, which you're not going to get in one window. You might not get in two windows. It might take longer than three windows because not every transfer you're going to do is going to work. And I think if you're very good at transfers, you usually a 50% hit rate. So it is going to take a lot of players, and we are going to have to sign players that are really um, based around some short-term fixes, like cheap ones like Ross Barkley, if that's what's needed. From a candidate's point of view, I think the two standout candidates for me are Nagelsmann, because everyone's gone on about him, and I think he's very, very good. But it'll be interesting to see if he does get the Liverpool or United job, how he deals with senior players, because I know he struggled with that at Bayern a lot, with the likes of Muller, Neuer, and he is quite young himself. So that'll be interesting. And secondly, I think a standout candidate that doesn't get linked with enough top end jobs is Unai Emery at Aston Villa. Now, the reason I'm mentioning him is that if Ineos think that they cannot get get rid of enough players quickly, he's a really good manager that works well with what he has. You've seen that at Villa. I think 80% of that team is from Steven Gerrard's time, and he's added a few in, but he's got a lot more out of the players that were there. And he's an exceptional coach who just doesn't seem to get linked with enough big jobs, but in my opinion, would be ideal for this role. You have got others that are being mentioned, the likes of De Zerbi, who I think has been kind of sussed out in the way he plays. He's still going off his last year's reputation. This year has been disaster, and he's struggling to manage at two games a week while Brighton are playing because of Europe. There is Alonso, but that Liverpool connection, I just don't think will work. I remember Paul Ince going to Liverpool from Inter Milan and Michael Owen coming to Manchester United from Newcastle, and the fans never really took to it. No fans will take to him no matter what he does. And then you're left with the likes of Potter, who a lot of fans don't fancy, but I think it's not about having a sexy name, it's about having the right name that can implement what we're trying to do. But there are a lot of bad eggs in this team. There's a lot of bad players, senior ones, likes of Rashford. Fernandez is, he's got away with murder, very ill disciplined. Um, I know the stats guys will say, "Oh well, look at his numbers." Yeah, but he just doesn't give you enough other than his Hollywood balls. He can't dictate tempo. Doesn't know when to play short. Just constantly looks for that Hollywood ball, and I've been very critical of him. But I think tomorrow we've got the Nottingham Forest game, which will be really interesting. If he loses that, or if he goes to a replay, I think he's under pressure anyway, Ten Hag. But I think if it goes to that, he's under more pressure. And Sunday you've got the City game, which I don't think it'll be as bad as what people are making. I think there's a chance, but I just don't see how Ten Hag survives. That's my opinion. I just wanted to do a short video because I felt I really wanted to get that out there. Guys, please leave in the comments who you think should be the next Manchester United manager, or if you think Ten Hag survives and why. Please subscribe, please follow us and help us grow, and we'll catch you on the next one. Thank you.